Hello everybody, welcome into a third showcase. Again, I haven't streamed lately because I've just been trying to get this to work, and I have not really been doing many, I haven't done much features really, any new features, so I haven't been streaming. But for the past 4 or 5 days, I don't know how long, I have been working like all day on this plugin. Uh, And let me show you why. So, of course, we all know if we do mine create with this schematic here, it works. It works fine. Um, yeah, I got myself a new Omni tool. It works fine, right? If I mine, here we go. Mine, expand. Boom. See, no problem. It works just fine. This is what we had before I started recoding things. But there's a problem. All right, so it works great for the schematic here, but we go trash those in there. All right. But if I was to create, say, something with, something just a little bit bigger, this wouldn't have worked in my old code. This would have just totally failed, utterly not worked at all. But as you can see, it works fantastic now. It loads in just as normal blocks would. This is a huge, massive step up from the old schematic. As you can tell, it's so much larger. That old schematic had maybe like 1,400 blocks or something, including all the air around it. I don't know. There was no way it was all 1,000 blocks. But this is much, much bigger, as you can tell, and it loaded in pretty fast. If I was to go down here, you can see just how deep the mine actually is as well. But it works. It loads in. I can mine, right? This is the standard mine size for this, right? And not only that, expand. Boom, 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 boom. I can spam it, and it's completely fine, right? Boom. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going, right? So this is really like I can't even stress how kind of impressive this really is. I mean, in high, like if you're not a developer, you should be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. What was the problem? Well, first off, you know, uh, if I was to go, hold on, if I go back to the world and I teleport back to my mind, which means it has to reload in for me, um, it loads pretty quickly, very quickly. So what was the problem before? If you're not a developer and you don't know why this is impressive, it's not a problem. First off, it doesn't really matter that much. But this, when I first tried to test a bigger schematic, I was getting timed out. The server was getting overloaded with too much information being sent to the player. And I'd be timed out, and it just wouldn't load at all. Like you would not be able to use this schematic in my original code. So I've basically been recoding a lot just for the sig optimization. Um, and I've also split it so that all these schematic blocks, the normal schematic, this all is stored, you know, in its own place. It's all stored based on, integers, or like an int array rather than what it was before, which is like a list of block entries with the like if it's unbreakable or not. No, now I don't store anything regarding if it's unbreakable or not anymore. That was just a boolean anyways, and I also don't store the material anymore. I store the block state ID, which is just an integer, which is much more efficient than storing a material enum, which I mean I guess. Um, but now this is the only reason I'm able to break this is because this is not stored with the schematic. This is stored per player. This all is stored per schematic that gets loaded. So that way you're not storing all of this per player as well, you're only storing this per schematic, and you're storing this per player. So that's another optimization I made. And obviously, you know, I'm only storing the block state IDs, so you got stuff like this, like fences don't connect, like the trapdoors are down when they should be, you know, whatever. These probably won't be facing the right way half the time. Yeah, so that's a problem. But I don't really know there's much I could do about that, to be honest, because I'm storing just an integer of block state ID. Meanwhile, the block data contains all that information, and I'm not storing that, just the integer. But hopefully that's not a problem players or server owners really like care about. I mean, if they really did, they can try to replace that or something. I don't know. And those buttons there, obviously, those aren't looking very good. So you know, we're not getting the best of the like very very best. But again, there's really not much I can do about that because I'm storing just an array of integers for the block positions. And not only that, I'm not storing them in world space anymore either. I'm storing them local to the chunk section. So all these blocks, they are really they're in an integer array, like a primitive int array, that are stored per chunk section. And if you don't know what a chunk section is, it's not a chunk, right? The world is split into chunks, which is a 16 by 16 by however tall the world is. But a chunk section is a 16 by 16 by 16 part of a chunk. So it's like the whole length and width of the chunk, but it's only 16 blocks tall. So we split it from world position. We split it into chunk position, chunk relative position, and then we split it into chunk section position. So all these blocks are being stored relative to the chunk section, and the chunk sections are being stored relative to the chunks, obviously. And then the chunks are just stored, you know, like chunk coordinates. But not even that. We're not even storing them. We're not even storing the chunks based on chunk coordinates. No. That would be storing two integers, chunk x and chunk z coordinate. No. We're storing just one integer. We're packing the chunk x and the chunk z integers into one little long key as like an index. So even those are optimized down just a little bit. So, you know, I tried to spare no expense in terms of optimization here, and that's the only reason I can even load this massive schematic and have all of this work so quickly. I even have like direct writes. Like when I load the schematics, I don't send it. I don't store the schematic block information in an object. No, I just send it straight to the storage. There's no object creation or allocation, whatever. It just goes straight to it. And same thing, I read straight from the storage. I don't get like an object of the data. I just get the data and store it directly in there. So or just read it directly from there, and how it works. It's super fast. I haven't tested with more than one player, so I can't speak for the, you know, testing with multiple hundreds of players or whatever, but I don't know if anyone is seeing this and they're interested in this project, you know, follow as it keeps getting made, as I post more updates. And if it gets into a state of you know, like a state that would be somewhat playable, because right now you have to give yourself an omni tool, and you have to give players like, well, that's about it really. I guess it could be tested. So if anyone would like to, I guess, test this with multiple players, let me know. I don't know, in the comments, or join my Discord, hit me up. That would probably be better, and we can figure something out. But yeah, right now, and there's nothing to do with the blocks either. So maybe once I add like an auto sell feature, then that'll be beneficial. But yeah, so hopefully more streams coming soon. And you know, I want to work. I want to start making some basic enchants like lair and explosion or something. And fortune. Those are all pretty easy to make, I would assume. I don't know. I've never touched enchants with like all this visual flair, like with particles or spawning in fake mobs to have them do things. No, I've never tried any of that. That would all have to be packet based as well. So you know, maybe I can look into that, but not yet. At least that I think all that stuff would be like much later on. Just get some basic enchants in, get it working as a basic prison core, as you would expect it to work, and then we could add in all those extra visual enchant flares, or you know, whatever. Like for instance, we don't even have a way to store enchants on this yet. We don't have any enchant architecture or structure set up yet, so we have to do that. And I'm gonna store them on the pickaxe as well, by the way, not in a database, because that wouldn't. That's just like, you know, we don't need to do that. If they lose their pickaxe, then that's the player's fault. Again, I even made it so you can't drop it in the mine world, because if you do drop anything in here, it will just phase through the fake blocks. So you can't drop them in there. Can't do that. If they somehow die, I think that would have to be, you know, the server would have to make sure that they can't take fall damage or anything in here. Because I'm pretty sure even, like, I can still take, like, I still lose hunger. And if I was to set fall damage to true, I think I could take fall damage here. If I'm not wrong. I believe so. Maybe not. Weird. I used to take fall damage. I could have sworn. I don't even know if I changed this game rule, but that is a game rule you could easily change in the mine world and all that. And I already changed a game rule when creating the world. I set a game rule of like, I forget what game rule it was exactly, but there is a game rule. You see game rule, game rule. Where's my world? Right, I disabled the locator bar. Because even though I'm hiding players now, like if I was to get my alt account in here, you wouldn't be able to see them if they're in the mine world. The locator bar would still show them, and I could cancel that out from packets, but I feel like it would just be simpler to disable the locator bar for this world, which I do encode automatically, so the server owner doesn't even have to do that manually. But they could enable it if they wanted to, because there's no point of having a locator bar in such a small world, essentially. But whatever. Also, that feature's relatively new anyways. People don't really, I don't know. That's more for like SMPs anyways. But yeah, so we are making progress, and I think that's all I have to showcase for today. Is, you know, just the fact that I went from last showcase, just a small little world, there's a small tiny little schematic, to this massive thing that loads very quickly, and I'm very proud of it. So, and it does load per chunk. It's a chunk packet, right? So you receive a chunk packet that's modified, and in the modification, we loop through the chunk section, so it's technically being rendered per section, but also per chunk. So, you know, so it should visually just be per chunk. So you'll see them going, like, being loaded out and in as normal Minecraft does. And then you load them back in, and hey, look, there it is. So that's just Minecraft basic chunk loading. Nothing I can do about that. That's literally how real chunks work as well. So, and that's the goal, to make them seem real. And also, I in the last showcase, you know, you don't get kicked for flight, even if you don't have flight enabled. So the server owner doesn't have to worry about that either. They don't have to give them flight if they don't want everyone to have flight when they're in mine. Yeah. The next thing I want to work on is inviting others to the mine and having them see the same blocks that are being broken. I'll try to get that to work next, I think, because that's another pretty core feature. I already have some infrastructure, like just a tiny bit, like mine privacy, invite, private, public. So even if you have people invited, you could set it to private and kick them out of there. So yeah, so it's like the plan, you know. I just have to get that to work, and I'm already storing this as well. Also, yeah, I also didn't show it, but we do have some basic persistent storage as well. Database. Right now it's just SQLite, but I'm looking to get other storage implemented as well, like MySQL and Mongo database. For whoever uses Mongo, which is an interesting database. It's like storing JSON files pretty much. But faster. So I'll try to get that done. I want to support MariaDB as well, which is like a fork of MySQL. It's made by the same people who originally made MySQL, I believe. But it's supposed to be faster than MySQL, so you'll have like layers. And then I also want to support H2. So there's like flat file format, SQLite is the default, and then H2 is like the same as SQLite but faster. And then there is obviously MySQL is the next step up from there. It's no longer flat file; it's an online database. And then after MySQL, a step up would be MariaDB, which you should be able to use with a MySQL database as well. It's just like the internals that are different. And then, as far as I know, really, I'm not an expert in all this. But then there is a lot of people would also like Mongo database instead of like any SQL related, because Mongo is not SQL language at all. It's just it's different. It's not SQL. It's storing documents or like JSON documents, like files, in an indexed manner in some way. So yeah, those are the storage solutions, I guess, that I'm looking to implement. Right now it's just SQLite, but we're gonna worry about those later. Again, it's the whole point of this is just, or like the current stage that we're in right now is just get things, like get things to work. You don't need all the extra bits that would also be considered the same as what you just implemented, like SQLite. I don't need H2 right now because I'm not going to be working with that. I'm just working with, I just need persistent data storage right now, and that's what I got. And I'll implement the others later. That's kind of what we're focused on right now, is just get the basics, the underlying basics done, and then we'll be fine. Like this. This was an underlying basic, I would say, because it's important. A lot of prison servers have big schematics, and you want those to work. Otherwise, they're not going to use the plugin, because what would be the point? It would just lag out their server if I didn't do this properly. And so, there we go. It works for small schematics, and it works for big schematics. And I'll try and, if anyone's curious, next time I stream, ask me about it, and I'll try to showcase what I had to change and what I did, because it's pretty interesting. It took a lot. I had to basically change the entire underlying storage of the blocks. I had to change how I read schematics as well, because I was just using like Paper's NBT readers. I had to make my own NBT reader in order to read bigger files, because like they have a limit, I guess. But yeah, now we can read this massive schematic. We can paste it in easily, quickly. It's amazing. But that's all I had to showcase. And I think I'm gonna end it here before I keep ranting on. It's already getting pretty long, longer than it needed to be. So yeah, I'm really enjoying working on this plugin now that I finally passed this hurdle of fake blocks. And now we can just, we can move on, make other things, and actually make a good core. That's the goal. And yeah, if you're curious why I didn't just use like protocol lib or packet events either, it's because I just didn't want to use them. This is all the packet listening and sending. That's all my own stuff that I've made in this plugin. So don't need external APIs. Don't need to require people to install protocol lib or whatever, or packet events. That's just, it's not a bad thing if you use them. It's just not for me. I don't want to have to learn those APIs. I'd rather just get them in there and figure it out on my own. Don't have to worry about any third-party API. I don't have to learn third-party APIs and all that stuff. But yeah, this is great. This is going good. 1.8 support? Probably never, because a lot. But yeah, again, these are all the plugs I have. Don't even have World Guard, so you know I don't have, like, this isn't World Guard, these aren't real plugs, you know. But yeah. Anyways, again, I'm gonna end it here. Thanks for checking in on the and following the updates if you haven't. Tune into the streams sometimes whenever I do stream to work on it. Because next time I stream, I might try and showcase off some of the code, or I might just start working on other features. You know, if nobody's in there to ask about it, then I'll just start working on different features. Like auto sale. Auto sale would be probably the next step, to be honest. Auto sell multipliers, get the backpacks to actually sell, because right now they just store blocks and you don't have anything to do with them after that. So that'll probably be the next thing, and then I want some enchants. That'll be fun. Alright, see you guys next time.